Martin Luther King, an interview that he gave, an economic message that he gave. And I want you guys to listen to this because when Martin Luther King started to really get serious about the economic issues of the people of color, the economic issues of folks that have been undermined for decades, that is when the problem of his life really begun. Of course, that's not entirely true, but we know that whenever you mess with certain people's way of being, their money, their green, issues start to happen. Anyhow, listen to this and then we'll take it on the other side.
Every other group that came as an immigrant somehow, not easily, but somehow got around it. Is it just the fact that Negroes are black?
White American.
Well, I mean, every...
Okay, I hope you got that. I hope you understand that or understood that. Martin Luther King, what he's trying to make clear is those Europeans who came to this country, most were given land. They were able to go ahead, and when we were having the westward expansion, as we took the land away from those who have inhabited that land for millennia, as we took their land, the people that we allowed to have that land were those from Europe and elsewhere. But the people who were enslaved, even after the Emancipation Proclamation, they got niet, nothing. So whereas many could move westward and accumulate land and build their wealth onto stolen land, those who worked the land, those who created products on the land, they got nothing. So as these people who acquired and acquired and acquired grew in their own personal economies, there were some groups that had to try to lift themselves up from bootstraps they never had. And by the way, you can't really lift yourself up from a bootstrap. I want you to try that one of these days. You can't do it. It was a joke. But for those who were supposed to build themselves up, yeah, there are a few people that are going to fall through the cracks. Somebody was nice to them and gave them a little bit of capital. Somebody gave them a little bit of opportunity to make it. But most didn't. Most weren't landowners. Most didn't get that 40 acres and a mule. Right? So they were never able to accumulate. So as we talk about those senators that don't see when Jim Clyburn calls Jim Crow 2.0, what's occurring in Republican states to deny people of color the right to vote or to make it more difficult for them to vote. As Manchin and Cinema play as if they can't destroy the essence of the Senate to do that. Why? because, you know, we are going to give the extremes more power. No, give the majority the power that they deserve, and let the Bill of Rights maintain the power of the minority, the power of the individual. Their inalienable rights, but everything else should be democratically achieved. But if you are going to stop democracy, as Cinema and Manchin and every single Republican is doing right now, and not want to be called out as the Jim Wallaces of the 21st century, the Jim Wallaces of now, be offended because somebody dare call you a racist because you decide that you won't change the filibuster, while you change the filibuster for capital issues, the debt relief, the debt ceiling. You don't have a problem changing the filibuster for that, but for the essence of democracy, where a group of people, even here on Martin Luther King's Day, are losing it all again. You cannot say, I will take care and do what's right, so that these people can elect the people that will ensure their economic success, and not do what we do decade after decade after decade. Folks, this is Martin Luther King's Day. Call your congressman, call your senator, tell them to do the right thing, because this is how democracies die. And the death of a democracy can be pretty darn not what you want. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.